All right, we are going to get started. We again really appreciate you joining our webinar. We are hoping this is one of many series that we will be hosting this year of Stay Informed and Stay Connected, putting your best buck forward. I do want to say that I'm happy to be working with this team here, and this team might change throughout the series, but we felt like right now this is a very pertinent conversation that we're going to have this evening, especially with the first quarter already over. I don't know about you, but I'm having a hard time believing that. So we are here to help. We understand that these times are different, and there's no one denying that. But we also appreciate your patience as we work through some of the challenges that we're experiencing with this newness. But really, we were always here to support your children, and that is what we are here for. I just want to take a minute and introduce everyone here this evening. We have Kathy McCullen, who is a social worker here in the district. The district is happy to have 4 social workers. Kathy is one of them. She works primarily at the kindergarten and Norwood, but she also helps with our home and school visits. So sometimes Kathy might be showing up at your door just to say hi, and it's here because we're here to support you. We have Gina LaPenta, who is our district behavior manager. Gina works specifically with certain students in classrooms or certain classrooms that need support specifically with behavior. And so Gina and Kathy have been undergoing some trainings that you will definitely see later in this school year. Lakeside 105 is just to keep in the back of your mind, something that we'll be definitely talking about. Gina and Kathy are trauma-informed care through the company called Lakeside, and we are happy to have them on board. We have Kaylin and Stephanie. Kaylin Spina is the cyber school, iSync iCyber 7 through 12 administrator, and Steph Farmer is K through 6. 1 through 6, iSync iCyber administrator. And so we are happy that we have them as well, because we have a lot of kids experiencing cyber in a different way this year than in normal. My name is Rachel Lambert. I am the supervisor of special education for Interboro. And I'm happy that you all are here today. So before we get started, I thought it would be something that maybe kids are talking about, a brain break. Brain break is something that we do throughout the day, especially now since we can't get up and out of our seats more often than we would. A brain break is also something that you can use, and I promise you I do throughout a very stressful day. A brain break is something you can use with your child when they're experiencing a lot of stress or anxiety about a certain topic, and it's okay to just stop and do whatever you need to and take this brain break. So today's brain break is going to be very easy. You need your finger. That's all you need. It's a square, right? We're going to make a square with our brain break. And the thing about brain breaks is they release our mind of anything that we're thinking about or worrying about. Some brain breaks make us more focused and energized, and some just settle us. So after a long day of everybody being here, I think it would be an okay time to settle us and take a quick brain break to do that, okay? So with your finger, or you can use 2 fingers. A lot of brain breaks use 2, depending on how thick you want your square to be. It's your creativity, right? So you're going to go up, and when you go up, you're going to inhale, and when you go across, you're going to exhale, okay? So, and then when you go down, you're going to inhale, and then when you go across, you're going to exhale. And we're going to do this 3 times. We're going to make a square 3 times with this, okay? All right, ready? Do it at your house. Ready? Go. Thank you for participating. All right, Kathy and Gina, take it away.
All right, thank you, Rach. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen here. Okay, can I just get a thumbs up from my cohorts here? Can you see that? Awesome. Okay. So as Rachel said, our trainings going forward are going to be called Stay Connected and Stay Involved, Be Your Best Buck Going Forward. And in the first half of this training, Kathy and I are going to cover a lot of topics in a short amount of time. So listed below are some of the things that we're going to cover. I'm going to kind of breeze by some of them. So if there's something on here that you think you want to learn more about or want more information about, feel free to write it in the chat, and we can definitely develop more of these trainings as we go forward. So the first thing I'm going to talk about is our PBIS program and how we can implement something similar in the home for that structure and routine and consistency in a chaotic time right now. PBIS stands for Positive Behavior Intervention and Supports. So some of you may have heard of that from your own children talking about it. It's a system, it's a program that we offer here, and I'll go into depth a little bit more of what that's about and how it can be used at home as well. PBIS is an evidence-based 3-tiered framework. It's to improve and integrate all of the data, systems, and practices affecting student outcomes. And it creates schools and environments where all students succeed. So it helps improve social, emotional, and academic outcomes for all students, regardless of disability, and also students from some underrepresented groups. And when you hear PBIS or when you see PBIS, this is kind of the image that is always shown with it. It's that 3-tiered framework that I just said on that previous slide. And really what it does, it's a school-wide system that we use that is great for about 80% of our students. We offer some tier 1 supports that really benefit all of our students. And from that information, from the data that we collect, we're able to identify, that other 20% of the population that maybe doesn't benefit that well from PBIS, but we can put supports into place that are a little bit more individualized with those particular students who are not benefiting from it. The ultimate purpose of PBIS is to increase student achievement and to build positive and supportive school climates. And so what is PBIS, or what is PBIS all about? Some components are, there are about 3 to 5 positively stated school-wide expectations in each one of our schools here. Most schools have about 3 expectations. The more expectations you have, the harder it is to follow. So sometimes only having 2 or 3 is a really great starting point. We have clear expectations in all locations in the building, the classroom setting, hallway setting, the cafeteria, the bus line. Our students here really understand the expected behaviors in all areas of the school. Our teachers and our staff teach the behaviors necessary to follow those expectations. Each school has a school-wide reinforcement plan, and I'll get into that a little bit later. Each school has a core team that meets regularly, and they monitor the plan, they look at data, they look at the reinforcement plan, they make recommendations, and they communicate to all staff in the school. Each team has administrator support, and we are really making sure that we are using data to help drive our decision-making. So through our PBIS data, through our child study teams, we're able to figure out, where some behaviors are happening, some challenging behaviors are happening, and look at patterns and, come up with solutions and interventions to really hone in on teaching those kids, our students, some of those expected behaviors. And again, so everyone knows the expectations. We have them posted everywhere, we model them, we teach them. And I'm gonna show you how you guys can also do something similar in your own home. So one of the good things about PBIS, the framework, it provides structure and routine. So since all of our students here have a PBIS program at their school, they're familiar with the framework. So implementing something at home would be very easy to do since they're already familiar with it. And it can help us develop routines for learning from, especially if your students are learning from home right now. We're aware that this is just a chaotic time. So you're trying to manage the stress of working from home. You're trying to help your own children with their schoolwork. So it's just a crazy time, and hopefully implementing something like this, something like our PBIS framework, can help with that calm in this chaotic world we're living in right now. So where to begin if you are going to decide to do a program like this at home? You can start with identifying 3 to 5 positively stated expectations. I would even recommend just doing 2 and starting out with that. I'm going to show you the 3 most widely used expectations in many schools on the next slide. So you feel free to use those expectations, or you can make up ones that work better for your own family. but the expectations are what help set boundaries and routines, and you can apply them to any kind of setting, from doing schoolwork to being online, at the dinner table, or even getting ready for bed. And I'm going to show you how that works. So the most common expectations you might see, or you might even be familiar with some of these, are be respectful, be responsible, and be safe. Our kindergarten actually uses these 3 expectations. Most of our schools have some form of these expectations. And this year we actually added in a safety expectation for all of our schools, with making sure our students know to wear their masks properly, how to walk on the right side in the hallway, stay 6 feet apart. But these are the 3 most common, and that's throughout, the state, the counties, other schools use this framework. It's not just Interboro. And then from those expectations, we develop what's called a matrix. So this is an example of a matrix. And on the left-hand side, you'll see the expectations, the be respectful, be responsible, and be safe. But then we also identify what those expectations look like in different settings. So real quick, I'm just going to show you, this is actually the matrix that Prospect Park uses. So their expectations are positive, productive, proud. So it's usually those 3, and then they added the safety in this year. And then they've described what that looks like in the hallway, the bathroom, the classroom, and online. And then another example, this is Glen Olden's matrix. So they have a lot more settings identified on their matrix. So it's a little hard to see, but their expectations are preparation, respect, and integrity. And then they've identified what that looks like, in the bus line, at arrival and dismissal, in the classroom. So again, something similar can be developed at home. You'll have access to these resources after the training. I'll show you where you can get them, or you can take a screenshot of this, or even just create your own matrix. But again, you want to identify the expectations, and then you want to be able to show them and model exactly what that means. What does it mean to be respectful at mealtime? Well, it means saying please and thank you. It means taking only what you can eat, using an inside voice. So really taking those broad expectations and identifying what those behaviors look like. And you can keep it simple. You can just have, a couple of settings on there. You really can make it what you want. And it's good and helpful to post it around the house so that everyone is aware. Just like we do here at school, we post these matrix all over so that everyone is aware of the expectations. What you could also do is, we know that children are more likely to follow expectations if they help set them. So this is another resource you can use to work on the matrix with your own kids at home. You can sit down with them and talk about, what does being respectful look like when you're doing your schoolwork? What does it look like when you're eating dinner with the family? And with them having the input into it, they're more likely to follow those expectations because they helped create them. So this is a good resource to use to help build that matrix. This is just another good resource to have. It actually, it can be posted in the area where your students are doing their online classes. And it's just good examples of what it looks like to be respectful, responsible, and safe during an online class. Okay, routine and structure. So structure and predictability can support a sense of safety for children and youth, and even us adults too. So another good thing that we can do for our children to help with this chaotic time and stress is to kind of plan out our daily routines. So I have a resource on here that is available. And again, you can make your own, but it's really helpful to identify, the routines for the day. What are the times of the classes? What's your work schedule look like? Are there doctor's appointments that day? And then going over with your children, either that morning or the night before, the schedule for the following day. It really helps with that anxiety and that stress of the unknown. And, we all don't like to do something that's outside of our routine, but we prepare for it better when we know about it. So just having that schedule for the week printed out and in a spot where everyone can see is really helpful. So again, that's another resource for that. Okay, I have this quote here by Rob Horner. It says, "Until we have defined, taught, modeled, practiced, reinforced, and retaught it is unethical for adults to punish. And that's something that we really kind of stress here with our PBIS program. We really take, that first month of school, the whole month of September, and we really teach the expectations to the students. We model them, we take them to the different areas of the school, and we show them what is expected of them. Because until we have done that, we can't put negative consequences in place. We can't punish, because we have to make sure that they understand and that they are aware of the expected behaviors before we can even give those consequences. And then if they're still not following them, we reteach. And then if they're still not following them, then we offer those consequences where we might take something away. But we really stress to the teachers and staff here that, we're teaching those expectations, we're modeling them, we're showing them what it looks like and what it doesn't look like. So that's something helpful to also do at home if you are choosing to do a matrix like that. And again, that leads to consequences. We really want our students to understand that their choices lead to consequences. So if they, if we've done all that we can do and we've taught them the expectations and we've modeled it and we've retaught them, and they still choose to not follow the expectation, then of course that's going to lead to a particular consequence. Maybe they lose recess time, or at home, maybe they lose tech time, but that's because it's their choice. That's what they chose to do. They chose to engage in that behavior. But we also want kids to know that they can make choices and actions that will bring about positive consequences. And that's when we kind of get into our reinforcement system, which is a part of PBIS. So you may have seen some of your kids come home with these, or most actually get them while they're in school, and then they put them into a bin and their name gets entered into a raffle. So the pride card at the top is a Glen Olden BUC pride ticket, and the bottom one is a kindergarten K-coin. And all staff, teachers have them when they see students engaging in expected behavior or even going above and beyond. The kids are rewarded with a ticket. And it's a really good way to show them that we appreciate them choosing to engage in the expected behavior. We know how important it is to praise them, but that little piece of paper helps a little bit too for them to, stay on board and want to do what is expected of them. They want to work harder. They want to make sure that they're, walking correctly in the hallway. And we can do something similar also at home. So you may not have a ticket system at home like we do here at school, but these resources will be posted for you as well. I just wanted to go over one simple, easy system you can do is a jar and cotton ball reward system. And it's as simple as finding a jar. I think the jar in this picture is a spaghetti sauce jar that was emptied out, and they filled it with cotton balls every time their children were following an expectation, or they did something that they're just supposed to be doing. It's nice. They would give them praise and they put a cotton ball in the jar. Once the jar is filled, then their child earns a reward. So again, it's something you could sit down with and possibly talk about with your kids, and you can come up with rewards together. And you don't have to fill the whole jar. You can even use it. It'll go into it in the article, but you can use a rubber band to put around the jar, and they have to get it to the fill line of the rubber band, and then they earn their reward. And you'd be surprised. I know the kids here love being entered into different raffles, and it really helps motivate them to want to do better and want to get their work done and be nice to their peers. And just a couple other resources on here that will be posted in Schoology is to earn screen time is a really good idea of having them earn it by doing chores or by doing something around the house. And each chore is worth a different amount of points. So that was a really good resource that I wanted to share. And then there is another link that has some non-toy rewards. So if you are going with that jar and cotton ball system, you don't have to give toys. You don't have to give something that costs money. You'd be surprised how many children just want one-on-one time or movie time with their parents, or to have that option to choose which movie. So a lot of good ideas on there. And then lastly, before Kathy takes over, another good resource is this sheet right here. This is based off of Gary Chapman's book, The 5 Love Languages. One thing that we stress in PBIS is not everyone is motivated by the same thing. What motivating for me or what's reinforcing for me may not be reinforcing for you. For me, someone might just be able to say, oh, you're doing a great job. And that's going to want to keep me doing that great job. Someone else may need that ticket, or someone else might need that physical touch of a high five. So it's really good to know your children and know what it is that is rewarding to them. So the 5 love languages are identified here. And so if you get a chance, take a look at it and you can kind of figure out what love language your children are, and then use your, or have rewards based on what their love language is. So that is it for me. I'm gonna pass it on to Kathy.
Good evening, everyone.
Yeah. Okay, all yours, Kath.
Okay, good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us tonight. I am going to kind of pick up where Gina left off and just talk a little bit more about this, and then we will run through Schoology a little bit. Can you guys see that? Okay. Oh, there we go. Okay. I don't know why that's there. Okay. So this is just an image, a quick guide to emotions and calming tools. So I think the important thing is we talk about that all behaviors are communication. And our job as parents, as school staff, are just trying to figure out what it's saying, right? So we think of like babies that cry, and we know they either need something to eat, or they need to sleep, or they need to go to the bathroom, right? So it gets a little harder as they start to get older and, trying to figure out, we expect them, once they become verbal, to be able to always tell us what's going on. And a lot of times that's really difficult for kids as well as for adults as well. So this chart just helps you kind of learn about feelings and also what you can do to manage those feelings. I will tell you that a lot of times in my offices, I will have like a little feelings chart with these pictures and then the feeling underneath. And kids love to come in and just like pick their feeling for the day, like not even with me asking them or prompting them. And it often becomes a good starting point of like where to talk to them. They might come in all smiles, but then put that they're really frustrated. So it's kind of a good point of talking, and especially for your young kids as they're like learning different feeling words. This could be something really useful to kind of have around the house sometimes and just kind of point out to them. And then over here on the I can, it gives you a lot of examples. And the important thing here is that, we really have to help kids learn to try different things, because what works for one person isn't going to work for everyone. So, anytime I have kids that I'm working with, I will say to them, you got to practice, try these different things, and then you report back, because I could give them all these techniques, but if it doesn't work for them, like you might say, count to 10 and take deep breaths. And someone says, well, that doesn't work for me. So, okay. So then is it listening to music? Is it, getting a drink of water? So it really is something that's personal, and it's important for you to kind of sometimes talk to your kids after they calm down. Sometimes it depends also what level they're at and how well you can talk to them in that moment. Sometimes it might be just get a drink of water, provide the basic needs, get them to calm, and then maybe move on to like listening to music or journaling or writing about it. So that's something you can keep looking at. Hold on, I'm sorry. It's not, there we go. Okay, the next is about restorative practices. So restorative practices is something we also use in schools sometimes. And basically the goal of restorative practices is to help repair and improve relationships between people and communities. So within the school community, we'll talk about like if there's a bullying incident or if there's a fight, like how do we get the parties involved to kind of not just know what they did was wrong, but how do we get them to kind of recognize how they made the other person feel, how they felt, like what was going on in that situation. So you'll see that there's some questions here for those who are showing the behavior. So think of when your two kids are fighting, right? And one of your kids throws a shoe at the other one. And you might think, what happened? What were you thinking at the time? What have you thought? A lot of times that's where you're saying, what are you doing? You're kind of saying to them real quick, but it might be taking a step back and saying, how do you think that person was affected by your behavior, and who else was affected? Because it doesn't just affect those two kids in the situation, it affects you because now you're frustrated as a parent. You know, it might affect the other siblings in the house. So it's really trying to get them to recognize how their behavior impacts others. And for those who are affected, you might say, you know, what did you think when you realized that happened? How was the incident impacted you and others? So kind of some of the same questions, and getting them to then share with the other person how they made them feel. So that's something else that you can use sometimes with kids, especially your own kids, when they're kind of giving you some trouble. So the next section we're going to talk about is just 7 tips for setting up a productive learning space. So obviously right now, some of us are back in school, some are at home, you know, but it is important for everyone to kind of recognize this, you know, whether your kids are in person, sometimes they might be sent home for a brief period because of exposure or quarantining or, you know, any kind of changes. And the one thing I would say is just to make sure that you remain flexible with this. And you'll hear me as we go through kind of use my own kids as some examples and just trying to figure out what works best for them as we go. So the first one's choosing a location based on your child's learning preferences. So I think it's looking at each of your children. Do they need silence? You know, do you have, what are your room options, right? So in the beginning, I was very reluctant to have I didn't want my kids to be in their room learning because I felt like it was kind of isolating. And I just felt like, you know, I would like to keep this separate, like sleeping and where you work, like separate. But, you know, I quickly realized that that was one of my only options. When you have 3 kids that are Zooming, they need some level of privacy. So I think especially, you know, I picked the most responsible child and I said, okay, we'll set up a little like vanity desk table in your room. You know, my youngest one who might need some more help, you know, he's in a more common location where I can overhear some of what's going on, or his babysitter can overhear some of what's going on to help him. And then, you know, then I set a different space for my son. So just looking at, you know, the background noise, you know, how old is your child, how much help they might need, you know, if your child's, if it's a high school student or older middle school student, they can be a little more independent. So just looking at those, you know, what options that you have and trying to pick the best one for your child. And then the second one is eliminating distractions. This is really important with things like your phones and, you know, music and stuff and the TV and video games. So I know we've had a lot of kids that are home and the video games kind of take precedence sometimes. So it's really trying to eliminate any of those things. You know, kids will use all kinds of excuses. I need it for a calculator. I need it to look up information. And that may be true, but, you know, if they can have a separate calculator, that might help. If, you know, you can use, there's some apps here that we gave examples of that will help kids eliminate some of their distractions, things like Freedom, Stay Focused, Self-Controlled, Duo. I don't know that one too well, but the other ones, you know, they'll do things like they'll stop notifications coming from certain times. They'll limit, you know, how long you can spend on like Instagram during the workday or the school day, or how long you can stay on like Facebook and stuff. So it helps kind of set up some of those limits for kids, as well as, you know, in a lot of situations, I just tell my kids, like, don't have your phone while you're in class, you know, unless you absolutely need it, so that it's not a distraction, because we all know how distracted we get. And, you know, before you know it, they're like missing their class and they're kind of scrolling through things. And so we also talked about experimenting with, some kids like to hear music in the background. So maybe when they're doing independent work, they might want to listen to music. And, you know, other times, some people find that kind of distracting. For number 3, it says, make it comfortable, but not too comfortable. I think we've all had some experiences with some kids like kind of laying in their beds, trying to do work. I've watched my own kids like sitting on the couch, and it quickly becomes kind of like a sit to a lay down, you know, where, you know, it's just harder to stay engaged and to participate. And then especially if they move on to like writing stuff. So, you know, we talked about choosing a chair that your child can sit in comfortably for long periods of time. You know, maybe have some options for them if you can. having a desk accessible to them or flat surface, the dining room table, whatever you need to use that can accommodate just their computer as well as their learning supplies. And then we talked about here, not using your bed. You know, we do always, even prior to this, we always talk about trying to keep like the work and your sleep space separate because it interferes. You know, some research shows that it interferes with sleeping when you're using your room for multiple purposes, like watching TV or, you know, playing video games. Ensure your learning space has good lighting, you know, just including natural light windows, you know, if they have a view of the outdoors, that kind of stuff. Have all of your child's supplies, pencils, papers, calculators, easily accessible. You know, I'll talk about this more, but as a social worker, if you ever need supplies for your kids, you know, reach out and let us know, but encourage your child to keep it organized and clutter-free. And then even maybe give them an incentive if they're keeping their space clean, you know, maybe make it one of their chores if that would help. Encouraging your child to personalize their learning space by adding decorations, artwork, anything else. So that's child dependent. If you think that would motivate your child, definitely that. We've seen a lot of the younger ones. I see a lot of the younger ones. I will readily say that we did not do that, but you know, some of the overachieving parents do have like the alphabet and like all these designs all over, but you know, that definitely helps. If possible, the learning space should only be used for learning. So this includes attending classes, doing homework, studying, for example. You know, obviously this isn't always possible. I mean, we use our dining room table. We try to clear it when they're learning and then, you know, move their stuff when we're not using it for learning. You know, other than that, you just, everyone's kind of making best with what you have. You know, if you have a table where at least in the time, they kind of have that clear space without a lot of distractions and a lot of other things that might distract them throughout the day. Okay, and then I do want to definitely ask for, I'm so excited that everyone's in here tonight, and I definitely want you guys, if you can, to follow us at Twitter. We have a Twitter at ISD_social work. We do mostly just tweet out like community resources and any programs that we become aware of, like housing, food resources. We just shared one about grants for childcare. So if you know, people that have additional costs due to childcare, they have a program available right now that you can apply for. So it really is just informational for the most part. So if you have a Twitter, you know, definitely try to follow us, and we do share that stuff out. And then I'm also going to show you briefly our Schoology page. I know Kaylin and Stephanie Farmer are going to talk a little bit more about Schoology, but I'm just going to show you real quick a parent group that we had developed, and I'm going to stop sharing this. This is the access code, which you will see when I put the group up as well. But okay. So the group that we are looking for parents to join is this one. It's called Community Resources and Support. So when you go in there, this is Mary Ellen Kane. She is our wonderful social worker at Tinicum and Prospect Park, who, thank God, is very tech savvy and has helped really develop this very user-friendly page for parents and put a lot of this stuff together for us. So thank God for her. But as you can see, what you would do is you would use this access code as a parent to join this group. And this again will be information only. So we would just be pushing out any information, anything we became aware of, anything that would be helpful for parents. And you'll see if you go in under the resource tab, there's a link for community resources, a link for district resources. So this might have any of like the safe to say information, like who's the social workers in your building, our student assistance program forms. There's a folder for parent trainings and info. So that's where like the training that's being recorded tonight would go there, as well as like some trainings from the DCIU or any other trainings that we've done at Interboro. And then the bottom tab, mental health supports, which would give you some community resources, crisis services. But the one I want to highlight right now is the community resource page, because this is so well done. So basically you would follow that to the Interboro Community Resources page. And from here, you can see at the top, there's all resources links for food, housing, tech, financial, medical, mental health. So if you click on any of them, it'll give you information about the Interboro food program, as well as like our local food pantries, any food giveaways, you know, any kind of like what you could apply for. So the housing will also take you to, you know, community action, the agency. There was, for a little while, they were doing a rent assistance grant that I think just expired, but, you know, with the changes that may come back again. So we try to update this and make sure you're aware of any resources. As you can see, financial, applying for benefits, medical, this would be, you know, if you have to apply for benefits. And just so you know, if you ever have questions about any of this information, you know, we do not expect you to completely navigate it on your own. We do. That is why each of the buildings have social workers. This is a list of the social workers besides myself. So Miss Paulina is at the high school, Miss Miller for Glen Olden, myself, I'm Norwood in kindergarten, and then Mary Ellen Kane does Tinicum and Prospect Park. So this is our contact information, but all of this is in our page, as well as you can just reach out to the school and ask us. So the social workers really are here to kind of help bridge the gap between like school and home, like to kind of help parents with community resources that are going to help them and their children be successful in school. So that is a little bit of what we do. And I really do encourage you, if you can, to join this group so that you can kind of play around and look. And it also will get you a little more familiar with Schoology. So when your kids have questions, you'll kind of know a little bit how to navigate it. So, okay. With that being said, I'm going to stop sharing here, and then I will pass it on to Steph and Kaylin, unless there's any questions.
Thank you, Kathy. I think I'm going to share my screen. I appreciate your segue into Schoology, because that is what the next half of this workshop will be about. So I'm just sharing right now the objectives for what we're going to cover next regarding Schoology. First, I just want to say we are so excited to be using Schoology this year. I know it can be a little bit of a learning curve, but I think overall, it's just such a great resource for our teachers, our students, our families. I can say that I used Schoology for many years as a classroom teacher, and I absolutely loved it. It was just such a great way to connect with my families and to be able to organize resources for my students. So we're going to just show you a few of the things on Schoology today, particularly that pertain to the parent access end of Schoology. So just to introduce myself again, I'm Kaylin Spina. I'm the 7th to 12th grade iSync iCyber administrator this year. And Stephanie Farmer will be presenting with me. She is the 1st through 8th grade iSync iCyber administrator. I do want to say that everything we're presenting today also applies to all of our students who are in hybrid in-person learning, as they are using Schoology as well. This is a platform we will continue to use. So it's not just, you know, something that we'll be using for this year, or you know, with these various restrictions regarding COVID, it'll be something that we use moving forward. And so it's really exciting, and we wanted to just have you get to know it a little bit better tonight. So we're going to review how to sign up for Schoology as a parent and how to customize your parent Schoology in your settings. We'll also review the Schoology toolbar, which is at the top of the Schoology page and has some nice features. We'll show you how to send messages in Schoology. Ms. Farmer is going to review the anatomy of a Schoology course. So what you can expect when you go into your student's Schoology course, what will it look like? What will you see when you get there? How will you find things on the course? She'll also discuss related and support services through Schoology. And finally, we'll be discussing groups in Schoology, which is nice because Ms. McCullen kind of gave us a little bit of a preview of one of the parent groups. If you have access to the chat here, if you're able to pull that up the way you're accessing from a phone or a computer, you'll see that we've put the code for the group in the chat. So that'll be something you might just want to cut and paste. Ms. Farmer will review how to join a group as well. So in order to create your account for Schoology, you'll just want to go to Schoology.com and you can click sign up, and then you'll just come down here to parents. When you click that, it will give you this screen. And then you'll just go ahead and put in that alphanumeric access code that you were given by the tech department. That will have come, there was an email that came out a few weeks ago and one prior to that as well, that just had your student's access code. If you're unable to find it, it's not a big deal at all. You can just reach out to me or Ms. Farmer or the tech department, or you can reach out to the administrators at your child's school, call the main office. They will be able to get you the access code. So it'll look kind of like what we put in the chat there with a series of numbers and letters and dashes. The good news is you don't have to use the dashes or worry about the caps lock. As long as you're putting in the alphanumeric aspect of the code, it will work. So you're just going to enter that and click continue. I've already created an account.
I am so sorry to interrupt you. The screen right now is staying on the parent overview, so we're unable to see what's going on.
Gotcha. Let me pull that back. Thank you. Let me just share again. And oh, I see. Okay, let me just put this up. Is that better? Is that working? Okay, thank you, Ms. Farmer. Please interrupt me when I'm doing that, because I tend to not realize when when others can't see the screen. So I'm just going to bring us back a second. So basically, you'll just go to Schoology.com, and then you'll just come over to the upper right-hand corner here to sign up and down to parent. Once you click on that, it gives you this little box, and that's where you put the access code and click continue. If you've reached out to your child's school, or if you're looking at the email, you can just cut and paste it right in there. Once you do, it will take you to a page that asks for your email address, and it'll ask you to agree to the terms of use. You'll have to agree to those to continue. It will ask you if you want to sign up for the access to the blog. You don't have to do that if you don't want to. The only thing you have to agree to is the terms of use. Once you do that, it will take you to your Schoology page. Now you can see I have a lot of courses on my page because I'm, an administrator for a lot of these courses, but yours, probably you won't have any courses to start. But you will see when you come over to the right-hand side, your name, and then there'll be this little caret here, this little drop-down pointer. And when you click on that, you will see your child, and this will be the child that you just used the code for. If you need to add another child, you can click add child, and you'll have another opportunity here to add another code. So if you have, say, a son in 5th grade and a daughter in 3rd grade, if you use your son's code, you'll see him already there, and then you'll just add your daughter's code here and click use code. One thing to note is that the code that you get for your child can be used by multiple parents or guardians. So if you would like to have an account and your spouse would like to have an account, you both can, and you would just use the same exact code for that child for the account to create the account. It'll create a separate account for your spouse with your spouse's email address and information, but you would use the same code. Once you do that, you can drop down and you're able to select which child you want to view this as. Now I'm viewing it as my child here is Prospect Park Test. It's just a test student account we created. So when I click on that, I'm able to see when this loads basically what my child sees in Schoology and what they have access to. So I'm going to talk about this banner in a moment, but before I do that, I do want to draw your attention to one more thing here. Once I've selected my child, I can come down here and I can select settings. And I can set up my account settings for my account. So here is where I could, decide whether I want to set my own homepage to recent activity or course dashboard. Recent activity will just show me notifications that teachers might have posted for classes I'm in. Again, you probably won't be in too many classes, so I wouldn't worry so much about that. The most important thing here is to just make sure, that all your information is correct, and to click on notifications. This is really where I think parents get the most kind of bang for their buck with Schoology with this. When you click on notifications, you can ask Schoology to send you a weekly or daily email digest, which summarizes the work that your student has done and the things that your student is working on. So you could say, I'd like to have that every single day. So you could say, well, first you could turn it off if you say no, thank you. I do recommend it. I think it's great. So you could turn it on and say, yep, every single day, I'd like to receive this at 5 p.m. That way, by the time I get home from work, I can review it and see, you know, what my student has done that day. I could also set it to be weekly. So I could say, okay, my student, you know, I want to get this every Monday morning. I'd like to get it, you know, at 5 a.m. in the morning. And I can set that up and have it right there on Mondays weekly. Below that, there's an area for you to select on or off to receive overdue submissions emails. I highly recommend turning this on because this will let you know when your child has an item that is past its due date that they have not submitted. So say there was an English assignment, it was due on Monday, your child did not yet submit it, you'll get an email letting you know that. And it's good because then you can, when you get home, instead of having to piece through all the assignments your child had to do that day, you can just say, hey, what happened with this English assignment? Kind of takes you, narrows it down right then and there that you can have that conversation with your child. So that's what I would start by doing. Again, that's over here down underneath when your child is selected, that's over here in settings under the little name at the top with the little caret below. So now just to review the Schoology toolbar, you'll see you have this black bar at the top, and this has a lot of really good information on it. To the left, there's courses. And when you click on that, you will see the courses that your child is enrolled in. So again, Prospect Park Test is a test student. So this child is enrolled in a lot of different courses across grade levels. Your child will be enrolled in the courses in his or her grade level. And every course has a picture for it. So for example, you know, we're seeing Mr. Wood's physical education class here. We're seeing Intro to Theater Arts. The teachers have chosen pictures as icons that represent their course. It's really helpful, particularly if you have younger students, because they get used to these pictures and they can tell which class is which picture. It's very easy for them. Next to that is groups. And Ms. Farmer is going to discuss this a little bit later, but just to preview that, this is any group that your child is in. It's different from a course because they're not going to be receiving assignments in it. It's more just an area for them to find resources, maybe have discussions, things like that. So you might see that your child is in, maybe your school's guidance counselor has a group and she has students in it to talk about good study skills or something like that. You may find that your child's in a group for a club or activity. So it could be, you know, chess club has a group and your child's in that group. So this is where you'll find these types of groups. Next is grades. And when you click on grade report, it's going to load your students' courses. Again, Prospect Park Test is enrolled in a lot of courses, so it takes a minute to load this. And then because this child, Prospect Park Test, is not actually completing assignments, we won't have grades here, but I can click and I'll see where the grades would be. So this is where you would find the assignments your child has done and the grades that your child has received for those assignments. This is broken down here by these different types of activities. Again, there aren't grades because it's a test student, but this is where you'd be able to scroll through and view those grades. And you can also download a student report. Attendance is not really where you'd want to get the information for that. We do that in Home Access Center, but I just wanted to let you know, you might see that there. I wouldn't worry about that. If you wanted to check your child's attendance, you could do that through the Home Access Center. So the other thing that you can notice when you click on this Interboro School District icon is that it will take you, when it finishes loading, back to this area where you either see your child's enrollments or student activity. So enrollments are all the courses your child is enrolled in. You may also want to look at student activity. When you click on that, you can see all of the things here that your child's teachers are kind of reaching out about for your child's courses. So for example, Mr. Herman at the high school posts all of the kaleidoscopes, which are the morning announcements for the high school, on this page through announcements. So your child, if your child's at the high school, is a member of this PBIS course and can click here to view daily announcements every day. So that's a really great way to start the day under student activity, taking a look at the announcements. You'll also see on the right-hand side that you'll see any overdue work. So anything that your child has not submitted that was due, that's all on the right. And again, Prospect Park Test doesn't submit a lot of work because it's not a real student. So there's a lot of overdue assignments. Your child would have far fewer overdue assignments than this. So at the top, you'll also see recent grades and attendance. So you can click here to see graded assignments, So you can look, it looks like Prospect Park Test did do a few graded assignments, which is exciting. You can also see any tests and quizzes. There aren't any graded right now for Prospect Park Test, and any discussions. When you're looking at these, you can also click in. So you could say, okay, what does a scientist look like? Well, all right, let's click into that and see, what did my child write? My child wrote analytical, careful, and intelligent. You know, I get to see how my child participated. Now, just to understand, you are seeing your child's courses through just your child's view with almost blinders on. So you're not seeing other people's children. So for example, this discussion may have had various posts in it. You won't see the posts that other children have made, but you will get to see what your child posted. So here I can see that, which is really nice. I can see how my child responded to that. I can see that the grade issued was a 5 out of 5. I can see the comment here was great job. So I know, wow, like I can come home and say like, hey, I saw you did a great job with this. What does a scientist look like assignment? Nice. You know, I'm proud of you. It gives you a little bit more specifics to talk about. I don't know, you know, what your kids say when you ask them how school was. Mine says fine, and I don't get a lot more information. So I really like that there's really a lot of specifics here to be able to talk to your child about. Finally, the last thing I want to draw your attention to on this toolbar is the calendar. It is my absolute favorite part of Schoology. When you click on this calendar, you can see all of your child's assignments for a given day or week. Now, again, this is a test student, so your child will not have this many assignments. This student is enrolled in dozens and dozens of classes. But essentially, you'd be able to come in here and see assignments. And then once you click on them, it will take you to that assignment. So again, not all of these assignments are working assignments because this particular student isn't a real student and these aren't necessarily real classes. But if I click on something, I can see, so that one's not, I had one I wanted to show. I think it was this one. Yes. So I can see here, and it's got a test review. I can click on the PDF to look at it. I can also click to view assignment. And when I do that, it will take me straight to the assignment. So I can see, okay, this is what's due on this day. This is what my child's supposed to do. You know, she's going to open it with Cami. Now I understand. I would definitely recommend that you draw your child's attention to the calendar in his or her Schoology, because it is so much easier for children to organize their day and their time when they see all of their classes listed at once, which is what these calendars demonstrate and show. So that was the last thing I wanted to show you here about the toolbar. The only other thing I wanted to mention is that as the marking periods change, and I'm going to hop back to my view right now just to show you, your child may say to you, you know, I have a new specials class, but I can't find it. I don't see it in Schoology. My gym class is missing. If your child notices that there's a class in Home Access Center that he or she does not see, when they click on courses, they don't see it in their dashboard here. You can have your child click on My Courses. It will show all of the courses that your child is a member of, and they can click Reorder Courses on the right-hand side. Anything that is below this blue line does not appear in that menu that we just saw, that dashboard. So maybe their phys ed course got bumped down here. They need to grab it and drag it above the line. Now, in doing so, it will knock another course out. So maybe they pulled down their music class from last semester and put their phys ed class from this semester up. And now when they click courses, they will see that right here. So that is not something, unfortunately, that you as a parent can do for them. They have to reorganize their own courses, but it is definitely something that you can explain to them how to do. So I am just going to, very last, just show the messaging feature really quickly. Your child will have this in Schoology. It looks like an envelope. He or she can click New Message and then can just start typing the name of the person that they want to message. So if they're looking for Mr. McDevitt, they can click Mr. McDevitt. They can say, hi, Mr. McDevitt, I need some help with the homework. I didn't understand question number 3, because they can click send. If they'd like to, they can do an audio recording. So if this is their Spanish class, they might say, here's what I'm thinking for my monologue. Does this sound good? If they'd like to, they can link a website, or they can also upload a file. So, hey, Mr. McDevitt, here's my draft for my essay. They can upload that and have him take a look. So I just wanted to let you know that your students can access their teachers very easily through that feature in Schoology. I'm just going to pass this to Miss Farmer.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Okay, I'm going to share my screen here. What we're going to discuss next is we're going to discuss the anatomy of a Schoology course. So if we go to our dashboard here, you'll see all of the courses that Ms. Spina just told us about. So I'm going to go into the physical education course. So when you first click on the course, this is what it looks like. You'll see the banner right here, all right? And you'll also see different areas on the banner that you can click on. Sometimes there's little Easter eggs hidden if you click on different things that might tell you a little bit more about the class or the activity, or about an interesting fact that maybe the instructor of the class wants the students to know. The couple things that I want to point out on here, if you are looking at a banner, there are several things that it should have. It should have a place that you can contact the instructor. So right here, it's clearly marked. A syllabus for the class, as well as an overview could also be in there. An area for tech support. There is also an area here for different things that you want to practice while you're in the virtual world. So a little bit of the netiquette information here, as well as a little getting to know you for the individual teacher. So if I were to click Mr. Wood's chair here, it's going to give me some detailed information about Mr. Wood. And also the week at a glance. So if I click on the week at a glance, this is going to show me overall what is going to be due each day, or what we're going to be discussing each day. So for example, for 7th grade on Monday, we're going to be doing Unit 4, Lesson 1. So I know when I go back to my course dashboard in the very front, in the very beginning, that I can look for Unit 4, Lesson 1, and know that that's what I'm working on. Also, let me make this tiny. Okay, so for an asynchronous class, you want to be able to click on the different areas, the different locations to be able to navigate through the site. And for a synchronous class then, there are individual Zooms. So if I belong to the 7 green cohort, or if I'm in the 7th or 8th grade cyber class, I'm going to make sure that I click these links. Now, Mr. Wood, the way that he has this set up, these links are actually his office hours for these individual classes as well. So if I'm a 7th or 8th grade cyber student, I know that I can click here, and I know that Mr. Wood will be live on the other side to answer any questions that I have. All right, I'm going to go back to the front here. So other things that we're also looking for is we will go to Unit 1. So you can see what the inside of the unit looks like. And we're going to go to Lesson 5. So there's a link here that is going to give us the instructions that we need to follow for the lesson. So if I click on this, there could be, oh, so sad, but there could be a slide, or there could be a video that is there that would be able to help the student as far as what the expectations are for the class. So this is a dance unit that Mr. Wood has set up, and these are the individual slides. For the dance unit, it has the activity, it has the time that is expected to be spent on the activity. Let's go back. All right. So another thing that they're going to have here is your exit ticket. You want to make sure that every class that you go to, you complete the exit ticket. Our exit ticket is actually our way of tracking attendance. So make sure before anything else, after you finish your assignments, you click on that exit ticket. So as far as the exit ticket goes, Once you click on it, it is going to be due for synchronous classes at the end of each day. And for your iCyber or asynchronous classes, that is going to be due on Monday at 8 a.m. for all of the classes. All right. Ooh, there was one more thing I wanted to show you on this. All right, so back to Mr. Wood's section here. If we scroll up, you're going to see somewhere on the dashboard, you're going to see an area for announcements. So whether it's myself or Miss Spina, there is an area for announcements. You're just going to click the link and it's going to take you right to our area. Our area is set up very much like the teachers. There's an area to click on for the PBIS Challenge of the Week. For the morning announcements, if you have a question, our PBIS values, as well as a to-do list or a calendar. Once again, there could be little Easter eggs hidden around as well. So another interactive thing you could do is click on the different things and see what happens. All right, let's go back to, if you click courses, that's going to take us back to our courses here. The next course we want to go to in is Miss Werner's CP Bio. And this is an example of an iSync class. So once again, set up very similarly. This class is a live class right now. So it has all of the upcoming assignments that are going to be due. Her exit tickets are listed right here as well. So if I click on this exit ticket, here is my question: what happens to oxygen produced by plants? These are the directions right here. I'm going to hit submit assignment. Once again, I can upload a file, I can do an audio video recording, or I can just type in a response. Then once again, you have to click submit. If you don't click submit, it does not send. All right. So that is the exit ticket. The week at a glance. So let's go back to the front page here. And hers is set up a little different, where it looks like it's on the whiteboard here or the smart board. So looking at the week at a glance for an iSync class, let's take Monday, for example. So the lesson is here, everything is linked. I can click on this and it's going to take me right to the activity. What I need to do, once again, everything is linked, the exit ticket as well as the lesson. What do I need to submit? Where can I go for help? So if I need to contact the teacher, all I have to do is click on this link and it's going to take me right to her email. How will I know if I understand? The teacher is going to either tell you how they're going to provide feedback, if it's going to be immediate, where it's going to be through. So for example, this one is going to be feedback in CAMI as well as a grade in Schoology. And then the link for the time. So I know at 10:54, I need to click here to access the Zoom link, okay? If you go down to Tuesday, you'll see that there was no live Zoom link for that day. That means that it was an asynchronous day. Once again on Wednesday, same thing, back to our Zoom link. I can click it here at 10:54, and that's going to take me straight to the Zoom link. As far as some other groups or courses, let's do some other courses. Miss Robinson is our college and career instructor. So this is her course. So if your student is in her course actively, these are the different Naviance logins that you can use to access that information. We can also go back to courses.
Mrs. Farmer, can you talk about office hours and what they can offer the child?
I would love to. So as far as office hours goes, I did mention that a little bit with Mr. Wood with his schedule for in his week at a glance. So over here are the office hours. So we just had a PBIS raffle about this last week. If you saw your child clicking on or visiting their teacher during office hours, that can be to provide help. It can be to ask a question. It can be to talk about how you relate with something that was discussed during class. Or it can be a time that is just a little get to know you. So one of the examples that we used was during a poetry unit. A teacher does this whole unit about poetry and your child happened to write a poem that was nominated for an award. So the child naturally wants to discuss that with the teacher. This would be a wonderful time for that. So you would just click in the office hours. It's called an office hour, but you're not expected to have your child sit there the entire hour. You sit there for whatever time is needed to discuss the question or problem. I know that Stablo has, our Spanish teacher, has a great synchronous time for office hours where he works with our iCyber students to go over Spanish lessons because Spanish can be difficult to learn asynchronously. So he will sit there with students and go over what has been instructed or expected to learn during that time period.
So if I'm an honor student or an AP student, and I know some of those courses are offered through asynchronous learning, and the teacher has office hours every day, or even some have teaching time, it's called, I can go every day and I basically will get instruction from that teacher on that course. I think office hours have a misnomer amongst the students. One, there's like a fear that when they go, there's going to be over 400 kids there. The truth is it's probably going to be a one-to-one tutoring session, to be honest with you. So I would strongly encourage, if your child is probably struggling and might be, as it's a new situation for many of our students in their asynchronous classes, especially our students who are honors or AP students, or even CP or whatever class they might be taking, a language specifically, they attend the office hours on a daily basis. The teachers have to be there. They are there for at least a half hour, if not more, and it would be a great time for your child to ask as many questions and honestly to get the tutoring or the instruction that they might be looking for if the class is offered in person.
Ms. Lambert, can I add to that too, that, you know, I just wanted to iterate that some students have expressed a fear of the opposite, that they go to office hours and they're the only one there. And that's okay too. They don't have to show their face on the screen if they're anxious about that. The teacher would be more than happy to help them with just them talking through the audio using the chat feature. So it's okay if they go and they're the only one there. They don't have to be afraid of that. The teachers are excited to see them, are more than happy to help them however they'd like to come to office hours.
Okay, great information. So a little bit about related and support services. I know Ms. McCullen did a fantastic job discussing that. So this is an example of the guidance department up at the high school. Once again, they have their page where you can click on each individual guidance counselor. There is a bunch of different resources that you can click on, a little breakdown about each individual person, their extension, their email, what they can help with. And then there's all kinds of resources down here. So for example, Announcements, contact your counselor. If you're a senior working on college applications, here's an example of the process. Dual enrollment, AP exam information. So all of this information is at your child's fingertips. So I would highly recommend that if they need these resources, to get involved and to pull up this information to be able to access it. All right, let's talk about groups a little bit. So one thing that Ms. Spina did discuss was the difference between groups and classes. That groups, there are no assignments, as she stated earlier. So we are going to go, you see where the courses are. This is where the groups are. So I am going to refresh this to see if I can get rid of the bottom. Apparently not today. Okay. So as far as groups, I can click on my groups, and my groups are going to be located here. If I want to join a new group, so for example, there is a new group in the chat that maybe some of you are not a member of yet. What you can do is click this blue button right here that says join group. And you're going to type in the access code right here. When you are typing in the access code, the dashes, cap locks, none of that matters. All that matters are the numbers and the letters. You get them in there, and then you're going to hit join. Once you hit join, then that group is going to appear. So for example, the Community Resources and Support Group. Once again, Mary Ellen's face is right there, smiling and saying hello. So all different groups that you can belong to that are going to help both you and your student. That's the easiest way to do it. Most classes will not need to have a code to join. Normally, it is completely automatic with eSchool-based enrollment. Groups, though, however, you do need to join. Okay. At this time, I'm going, Ms. Spina, I just want to make sure, did I touch on everything?
Absolutely. Thank you, Ms. Farmer. The only other thing I wanted to add, just based on some of the notes in the Q&A, are that there is a Schoology app that you can download to your phone. I highly recommend it for both parents and students. You can get it on an Android or an Apple device, it doesn't matter. And when you download it, it just makes it that much easier to access Schoology on the go. So I know that if I wanted to check my son's work, when I'm at work, it's easiest for me to do that on my phone. I also think that for students, it's nice because, when they're out, they can get alerts to their phone. It can remind them about assignments. So I think that that's something I just would like to say to everyone. You can go to the App Store or wherever you go to get your applications for your device and download that Schoology app, and you can link it to your account, and it's just really easy to use and very helpful.
Some other questions regarding report cards. Report cards have been posted to the Home Access Center. So if you are a parent, definitely in middle school and high school, grades have been posted. If you are a parent in K through 6, your report cards will go out through conferences and they will be emailed to you. So they will be emailed to you by the end of this week. They are not posted in the Home Access Center. Another question, and I know that this might be a pressing question about going virtual. No one on here will make that decision. All that communication comes out from Mrs. Riley, who communicates with you on a weekly basis. So if you have not been receiving Mrs. Riley's weekly communication, that is something that we can fix. So if that is a conversation that you need, please add that to the Q&A so we can check your email addresses. If you at this point are a parent that's like, you don't feel communicated through the school, something is not right with your email addresses. You are getting at least weekly communication from Mrs. Riley. You are getting communication weekly from your school's principal. if not more. So that is definitely something that you also can update and hack, is your own personal email, your own personal phone number. So if you feel you are not getting that information, that is imperative that we look into that for you. Please email me and I will make sure to look into that. I see that many people are asking about students. Students did and have received and continue to receive tutorials, if you will, in their classes regarding Schoology. But if you feel that this information is something that you and your child should sit down and watch together, I highly suggest that, because I also think it's important for them to know what you know, so that they can't say, you know, something that you know can be a blatant lie. Listen, I love kids, but kids are very sneaky and smart. And so they try to figure out what you know in comparison to what they know. So I think it's actually something to sit down together and to go over and work it out together. And to say like, no, I know you didn't submit that on Cami. I'm looking at it right here. And so when a child says like, I submitted it, you should see those words, submitted. If you don't see those words, it wasn't submitted. So yeah, so thank you for joining us tonight. Again, this was recorded and it will be posted. It will be on the district YouTube channel. Thank you to the parents who have already signed on for the group resource. We highly suggest you do that, because that will be updated. This will be on there as well in case you want to go through Schoology to find it. You will see that the district is using Schoology more and more and are trying to communicate to you through Schoology, but we will always continue to use Blackboard, which is how we communicate to you now through s'mores and such. If you have any questions for any one of us, please do email us. We're happy to answer that. Thank you for your time this evening, and we appreciate you, and have a wonderful Thanksgiving.